A 9-year-old boy went to heaven, but before that, he whispered heartbreaking words to his father. Once you become a parent, it quickly dawns on you that your life is no longer the most important thing to you, but your child's life now takes precedence over your own. Any parent's worst nightmare is seeing their child sick in the hospital, especially when there is nothing they can do to make them better. Young and innocent children should never be diagnosed with a life-threatening illness, such as cancer. When this occurs, it has a ripple effect throughout the victim's family, stealing joy and happiness away from those who are left to care for the child. It's a devastating experience. Seeing a child battle cancer is one of the most heart-wrenching experiences one can have. The pains and struggles of nursing a child through a grueling chemotherapy regimen are excruciating and undeserving for any parent, especially when it deprives them of their normal life. Also, if you have not done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell to get inspired by these real-life stories every day. Now, back to the story. For the majority of his adult life, Bill Kohler, a retired Army medic, has worked tirelessly to help others. Bill was adept at dealing with life-threatening injuries and was often able to save those he was called upon to help. He had a 9-year-old son named Aiden. Aiden grew into an active, fun-loving child. Always on the move, Aiden played a ton of sports. But when he collapsed suddenly at football practice, they learned something was seriously wrong. Aiden developed tumors that were later diagnosed as diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma, or DIPG, when he was almost 9 years old. DIPG is a very rare form of childhood cancer called diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma, or DIPG. This is a very dangerous form of cancer that forms a large mass or tumor in the middle of the brainstem. This form of cancer is almost impossible to treat because it grows around the nerves in the brain. The prognosis wasn't good. Doctors estimated Aiden had only 8 to 12 months left to live, and with such little time left, Bill was determined to make the most of it. In an interview with the York Daily Record, Bill said, "I did everything I could to save my son. I was a medic during the war, and I fixed things, but this was something I wasn't even allowed to touch." As a military doctor, Bill was able to maintain his composure even in the most difficult of situations. In contrast, he found it difficult to maintain his composure around his son. Before Aiden's condition deteriorated to such an extent that it would be impossible for him and Bill to leave the hospital, they made a bucket list of things they wanted to accomplish while they had the opportunity. His family and neighborhood came together to help Aiden's family make the most of their time together. Bill and Aiden were always up for an adventure, even when they weren't at the doctor. To help Aiden complete his bucket list, strangers from all over the world donated via a GoFundMe page. He and his father went on hunting and fishing trips, went to basketball and football games, and even went backstage at the WWE to meet his wrestling idols. Aiden stated in his journal that, if he died, he wanted to be buried in the woods. So, his father would accompany him there as often as he could to enjoy the great outdoors and have as much fun as he could. Aiden's health was deteriorating despite the fact he was crossing off every item on his bucket list, and he was eventually taken to the hospital with his father by his side. Aiden clung to life for as long as he could before whispering these world-shattering words into his father's ear. "I'm sorry, Dad, but I've got to quit." Aiden's fight had worn him down to the point where he could no longer fight. "If you fought as much and as hard as you could, and you believe you fought that hard," his father told him, "it's fine to quit." In the spring, he died peacefully at his parents' house. Prior to his death, Aiden stated that he wanted to be remembered as a happy, witty, athletic, wise fighter, compassionate, and selfless person to honor his life's fight. Bill has been working relentlessly researching the illness that claimed the life of his son in order to find a treatment for it. He started the Aiden Strong Foundation with the help of his relatives. The charity provides assistance to other children who have been diagnosed with cancer. It also helps families deal with large bills and other expenses, such as mortgages and car loans. Bill is also working to increase research funding for cancer. Everybody dealing with cancer, especially parents who must watch their children suffer, has come to rely on Bill. Bill's actions are commendable in spite of his enormous loss. I'm sure Aiden is proud of his father's accomplishments looking down on him from heaven. His father is doing all in his power to make his son's death worthy. As Aiden lost the ability to walk due to cancer, his father built and walked him down the ramp that had been built for him. Now that he was no more, Kohler couldn't bear to take down the ramp. His son's funeral was 3 days away on Monday. Kohler wore a white dress shirt, dark tie, and a black suit. He climbed into the back of his truck. Between houses, he could make out Aiden's old elementary school. The truck's speakers pumped out a newscast from the driver's seat. It was a story about his son's death from a local news source. He immediately turned off the radio when it began. Kohler's harrowing experience left him perplexed as to why God would permit children to die. He questioned whether God was truly as compassionate as people claimed. He also questioned the existence of God and why he had not intervened to save his son's life. He longed for his son, but until they crossed paths again, he had to cling to their memories. Kohler achieved national prominence during Aiden's lifetime for his efforts to help Aiden make the most out of his remaining months. After Aiden's death, Kohler dedicated his life to the fight against DIPG and other forms of cancer. Kohler added, "These kids won't have a voice until I act." The 49-year-old former Army medic offers support to other families whose children have suffered a similar fate to that of his son. His wife, friends, and family formed a non-profit organization to assist other cancer patients and their families. He pleaded with Congress to fund research into pediatric cancer. Aiden died from DIPG, a cruel disease, and kids like Aiden keep dying, he testified before Congress. Kohler is attempting to reach out to additional DIPG families in order to alleviate their burden in any way possible. 12-year-old Casey Knott was diagnosed with DIPG in November 2016. Her predicament has cost her family hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep her alive and happy. Mr. Kohler made a positive impact on the little girl's family through his work. Mr. Knott stated concerning Kohler, "He is a genuine and remarkable individual. These genuine individuals are really rare." Each year, the United States detects 300 to 350 new cases of DIPG, the majority of which are in children under the age of 10. Few make it a year. Kohler drank heavily afterwards, just as he had done upon his return from Iraq. He could hear children laughing and yelling on the adjacent school playground. He needed to get out of town. He considered Honduras, where he had recently returned from a medical mission. Why not relocate to the highlands and assist the locals, he pondered. He thought that would take him away from Aiden. Rather than that, he encountered Aiden's ghost. He desired to learn about the treatment plan of kids diagnosed with DIPG and to meet or hear from the children. He spent months traveling from coast to coast, visiting families. He paid visits to children like Maddie from New York, Noah from New Hampshire, and Dion from North Carolina. He believed he might be able to convince legislators that DIPG and other forms of life-threatening cancer are more than statistics. Kohler was enrolled in college prior to Aiden's diagnosis, but he was unable to concentrate on those classes. He spent the last year speaking with DIPG advocates and families. They concluded that environmental factors may have played a role in the diagnosis. They have discussed therapeutic options. They also discussed how to communicate with young children about illnesses and death. Kohler advised parents to never lie to the kids. All Kohler desired was to connect with and assist families who found themselves in a similar tragic situation. However, this proved costly, and the fact that he remained in debt did not help matters. However, the Aiden Strong Foundation provided him with direction. "I couldn't imagine where I'd be if my friends and family hadn't started this," he added. Kohler traveled to Harrisburg in January wearing a white shirt, a black tie, and a black suit to lobby for funding for pediatric cancer research. Additional funding could potentially save children's lives, another advocate, Chris M. Winters, stated during a recent Facebook Live video interview with Kohler. "Bill keeps me going on days when I'm feeling down because he'll contact me late at night with these fantastic ideas." Kohler observes how politicians and groups spend campaign funds and believes that the public is oblivious to a serial killer. Kohler traveled to Harrisburg as part of his work to help children with DIPG to lobby for passage of a bill that would allow people to donate $5 to pediatric cancer research when renewing their vehicle registration or driver's license. He stated on the way up that it's difficult to recall Aiden's good times. Rather than that, Kohler recalls Aiden's tears as a result of his inability to chew or swallow, or his disappointment at being unable to play on the family's trampoline. He also paid a morning visit to the senator's offices and scheduled an afternoon meeting with a congressional aide in his office. Christopher M. Winters, a legislative aide in Harrisburg and president of the National Children's Cancer Consortium, played a significant role in increasing awareness of DIPG and other lesser-known but deadly forms of cancer. He also met Sarah Weinhold, a resident of Lancaster County, whose 9-year-old daughter, Noelle, was diagnosed with kidney cancer at the age of 4. She referred to him as a mighty force. She connected him with Dr. Rachel Levine, the secretary of the Pennsylvania Department of Health and a physician. Levine and Kohler both argued for increased funding for pediatric cancer research. Levine presented them to a legislative aid in the hope that their petition would accomplish something worthwhile. Then, they went in search of additional legislators. The Pennsylvania House of Representatives recognized DIPG Awareness Day in May. It was a positive step because he frequently encountered individuals who were unaware of the illness. House Bill 46 was signed into law in October to provide funding for pediatric cancer research. Pennsylvania residents who wish to contribute to pediatric cancer research must indicate their intentions on their tax returns. The House passed the bill in June, and it now heads to the state Senate. If you enjoyed the video, kindly give it a thumbs up, leave a comment in the comments section, and share with others. Thanks for watching, and catch you in the next one.